I hate turbulence. So always checking my exit. They tell you got to check your exit. Check your exit. Where's your exit? And you think you know where your exit is, and then they go, well, just in case you think you know, the closest one may be behind you. And it's like, well, bitch, I'm in Comfort Plus. So if I got to go back to Coach, I'm just going to die. I went through a rite of passage recently. I was maid of honor. I don't know why you clap for that. There's no honor, okay? No honor. Every day I went to the mailbox looking for my honor certificate. Never came. My friend got married. My last best friend got married. I was so upset because she's unattractive. And it ain't nothing like seeing an ugly bitch walk into happiness. Knowing that you had to kick your cats out the room the night before to masturbate. That really puts things in perspective. I was her maid of honor, right? Honor. All it was me being there for her emotionally for 6 months, telling her that she was beautiful. I was like, I can't. I got 2 cats and sleep apnea. I need a hug. I can't be here for you. I spent close to $3,000 in this wedding. 3 guys throwing parties, buying dresses, and my pussy was dry the whole time. I was so upset. I said, somebody better eat me out after all this money. I don't care if it's your grandfather. Get him ready, okay? Put a bib on him, get him ready. I had to go to this dress fitting. It was my first time going to a dress fitting. I prepared myself. I went and watched Say Yes to the Dress to see how it was going to go down. It's not reality. It's not reality. Say Yes to the Dress is 30 minutes, commercial break, you won, and you done. In real life, 5 hours with this bitch working my nerves. And the gay guy kept walking in trying to upsell with his gayness. Yes, queen, yes! And I'm like, listen, slow down. I suck dick too, and I don't do all of that. Calm down. She's buying a dress. Those brides are competitive. They're very competitive. There's 10 brides in there. They all want the same dress. Regardless of body type, they all want the same dress. My friend's like, I want that dress too. They had a little strapless dress floating around. Her mother's like, yes, you're gonna be beautiful. You get that dress. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't need that dress. Everybody's like, be quiet. Shh, it's her day. She's gonna be beautiful. It's her day. I said, wait a minute. I'm the maid of honor. I gotta have honor here. Okay? Bitch, you built like a truck. You don't need to be in that dress. Come on, we all big bitches here. Come on, come on. You're not even built like a Ford. You built like a milk truck that travels across the country with a refrigerator all over the place. I mean, am I being real or what, okay? You need straps. Matter of fact, you need to go back in the back and see if they got 2 midgets to hold your shit up all day. That's how much support you need. We had to pick out our dresses. She goes, you pick out whatever style you want. Whatever style you want. Just have my favorite color. Whatever style. I said, all right. What's your favorite color? Pumpkin spice. That's not even that's a drink at Starbucks. Wait a minute, whoa. You got 7 big bitches in your wedding. And you choose pumpkin spice? We look like angry jack-o'-lanterns walking down the aisle. Boo! Boo! I get to the wedding, standing next to her, watching my best friend get married. Not paying attention at all. I'm thinking about the food later. I don't care. Go do your thing, girl. I ain't getting dick out of this. Do your thing. What happens is she starts to cry. She starts to have a meltdown. Like she's so in love with him. love you so much. I guess. You make the sun rise. I'm like, he makes the sun rise. What about God? God like, bitch, I'll make the sun rise. She's crying and crying. And I hear behind me, psst, psst, psst. And I turn around like, oh my God, somebody trying to stop this ugly ass wedding. What? And it's her mother behind me going, psst, psst, psst. Get her tissues. Get her tissues. Bitch, this ain't the help too. I ain't getting her shit. Right? I said, I don't have any tissues. You're the maid of honor. You're supposed to have tissues. I was like, I was at rehearsal with her for 6 hours. She didn't do any of this shit. I don't have tissues. Right? Do it in a dress rehearsal, bitch. I didn't know. Cry. Obviously, I'm from New York, or I live in New York. I'm from Maryland, but I live in New York, and I flew here. I hate flying. Flying is like, it's one of the worst things. We have to do it a lot as comics, and so I get high a lot, or, you know, like I eat. And we had a really bad flight recently, and you know when the flight's bad when the flight attendant sits the fuck down? When Brenda sits down, you better start praying. Like, this shit, like, bitch, why are you buckling up? Are we okay? Do I need a parachute? Because nobody really knows. Like, I realized this last flight, I don't know what to do in the event of an emergency. We all think we do, because we watched the bitch do the little Broadway musical at the beginning, right? Where she, like, dancing and shit. And it's like, bitch, if this is information I'm supposed to know, please stop fucking dancing and just tell me what the fuck to do. So, you know, okay, so they just had a flight recently. The plane was going down, and like the mask came down, and you realize how many people are fucking dumb, right? Because the mask came down, somebody took a picture of everybody with the mask, right? Because, you know, when you're about to die, you want to put it on Instagram. So the mask come down, and nobody was wearing this shit where they were supposed to wear it. You gotta put it on your fucking breathing place, right? You gotta put it here. Is motherfuckers wearing like goggles? Somebody was wearing like a birthday hat, like, well, I'm the fuck out of here, happy birthday. Like, I was like, what the fuck are they doing? I hate turbulence. I hate turbulence. So I always checking my exit. They tell you gotta check your exit. Check your exit. Where's your exit? And you think you know where your exit is, and then they go, well, just in case you think you know, the closest one may be behind you. And it's like, well, bitch, I'm in Comfort Plus. So if I gotta go back to Coach, I'm just gonna die. I'm not going to Coach. I'm determined that if a plane goes down, first class is just going to detach from the rest of the poor motherfuckers and just keep flying to Miami. They don't give a fuck about Coach, okay? Meemaw only flies every 10 years. That bitch has got to go. You understand? So, plane etiquette is also like at an all-time low. I was sitting next to this white bitch and her baby, and I guess they had money because the bitch and the baby had their own seat. So, she's fooling around in the bag and shit, and she's got hold of the baby, trying to fool around the bag, and then she just gets up and pivots and hands me the fucking baby, because of course I'm a big titty black woman, so I gotta be the plain nanny. So she pivots. I was like, bitch, don't give me your baby, I'm on coke. Like, I don't have time for your fucking baby, bitch. This is not the help. I will eat this nigga, and even the baby was like, don't give me that bitch. It was like, this is not the one, bitch. I don't, yeah. Plane etiquette is fucked up. Sometimes you get in a fucked up situation on a plane, you don't know what to do, you don't want to say anything, and then you get trapped up. Like, there was recently this white lady on the plane, and she took a picture. This white nigga had his feet over her head. Did you remember that? You see that picture? You saw it? See, me and the black lady connected because we already know where we going. The white people catching up. You understand? They're like, what's the problem? So he got his bare motherfucking feet over her damn head, and she's just being passive aggressive. She's like, gotta be a long flight. I was like, bitch, are you out of your fucking mind? You already know what we would've did. Get in your fucking purse, bitch. Get a lighter and burn this nigga's toes. What the fuck do you mean gonna be a long flight, bitch? short play for this nigga's feet. What? Oh, I hate people. Before I got with my guy, I was on a date with this guy that I met on Nude Africa. That's a legit site, and I know there's a couple of white guys in here that can verify that. So don't let them fool you. Nude Africa. Huh, sir? You been on it, huh? You looked up into the sky, nigga. I know you thinking about Tasha. I was on Nude Africa. Nude Africa, you gotta show your titties and shit. That's what you gotta do to get out there. You gotta put your titties out there. So I put my titties out there, but I got like big ass titties. You know what I'm saying? I got like, you know, some girls like their titties is up. Like your titties look like they up. They care about themselves. You know what I'm saying? They pay taxes. They contribute. Right? You probably take your bra off and it sounds like the Little Mermaid or some shit, right? Right? Lord, just happy. I take my titties off the bra and like they hang like Ricola horns. And there's no Little Mermaid, it's just old Negro spirituals, a lot of hemming and haw. Oh, we made it. Thank God we made it. Like sometimes when I'm doing housework, I just throw my titties over my back and just get going. You ever do that? No, of course not. It gets real confusing when I take my bra off because I have 2 cats and they're like, what is this, a scratch toy? They always... So sometimes I have to take my nipples and put it in catnip just to make them happy. So I was with this guy from Nude Africa. He came over to my house. Now, Nude Africa, you don't really get to know the people, right? You just be like, you want to fuck? And you'd be like, yeah, you know. So he came over, and he was gorgeous. Ladies, be careful when you're doing this online shit. If you get a guy that's gorgeous, just get rid of him because he's a serial killer. There's something wrong with him. Like, just regular motherfuckers and mediocre niggas is all you need to accept. Because the gorgeous guy, he should be out fucking. He don't need to be on no goddamn app. You understand what I'm saying? So he comes in my house, gorgeous guy. We get on the couch. We start making out. Now, you know the shit is it's hot right now. So my titties are sweating. I'm a big girl, so I put talcum powder under my titties to catch the moisture. So we fooling around on the couch. He lifts up my titties. All these powder crumbs came falling out on the couch. And I was embarrassed because he don't know me. He don't know what the fuck it is. And I was like, he gonna think this is a powdered donut. Like, you know, because I'm a fat bitch. So I had to tell him it was cocaine and I bagged it up and sold it to him for $5, you know. But he didn't even care. Like, he was so busy, like, playing with my titties. Like, he had my titties, like, up and shit. Like, I had never seen my titties face to face before. I was just like, what? And then he let my titties drop. You ever had your titties drop? You ever had a guy put your titties up and let them drop? My titties went up and they just dropped, and then they were like swinging because, you know, they big, heavy-ass titties. They just flipping back and forth. And as they were swinging back and forth, this motherfucker balls up his fist and start boxing my titties. I was like, what the fuck are you? Have you ever boxed a bitch's titties, sir? Don't box bitches' titties, okay? Unless you want a bitch playing hacky sack with your balls, don't box. And then he started doing that little etch-a-sketch shit that men do. I hate that with the nipples, that shit, that etch-a-sketch, like you about to get like a hot 97 or some shit on the titties. I hate that. Why are you doing that? What is it? They are so sick. I can't stand men. And I was like, you gotta get away from my titties, like that's crazy. But then he went down here, right? Oh, I was like, well, at least he going down to the pleasure box, you know? But then he took these 2 fingers like this. This is the worst, right? We all ladies know. And this is the thing, every man does this like they about to do some shit, like, and every woman's like, oh my God, I'm about to get a pap, I'm about to die. This guy has no clue. Cause he jackknifed. It was like, it's one thing to present these 2 fingers, it's another thing to go, he was like, you like that? I was like, no, I